Good morning, everyone. Welcome one and all to Collider Movie Talk. We are mere moments away from revealing the 2018 Academy Award nominations. The ceremony is about a month and a half away from happening, and I am 45 minutes away from going back to sleep. But until that happens, oh boy, do we have a fun show for you all today. We're going to talk about everything that just went down with the nominations for the Oscars. Joining me on this incredible panel is Jon Schnepp. He got up.
Woo! Whoa! That's right. I'm up really early, and I'm going to go back to sleep as well. But, man, it's early. You know what? Get up this early to read about all these weird nominations and stuff. It's awesome.
I feel good when I wake up this early, and then I'm good for about an hour and a half. Then I need to shut down for the rest of the day. Somebody who does not have that issue is Perri Nemiroff, who just came from spin class.
Yeah, right. I'm missing my gym class for this, and I'm happy to do it because I think Oscar nomination day is one of my favorite days and one of my favorite reasons to wake up early.
You guys both came into the studio buzzing, but nobody can match the energy of this next young man that is on the panel. He came in on fire, ready to go, ready to talk, ready to debate. Our own John Steven Rocha.
How's it going? I climbed out of the sunken place this morning when the alarm hit, and I'm like, Oscars, let's do this. I got my Citizen Kane snow globe shirt on. I'm ready to have some fun. Let's do it. Rosebud, son.
Rosebud,
right.
indeed.
Rosebud.
We are going to kick it. You know, Orson Welles never won an Oscar. Well, too bad for Orson, but there are some people named Kobe Bryant that could win one at this Academy Award. We'll get into Kobe's nomination in a little bit. Right now, we want to kick things off. We're not like the Oscars. We're not going to tease you and make you watch 3.5 hours of a ceremony to get the Best Picture. We kick off with Best Picture around here.
Bam.
And here are the nominations. They are for Best Picture: Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and I sound like the movie phone guy. Press 1 for 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri. John Rocha is one of the reasons why you came in so full of energy this morning. This particular nomination list.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's some great films on here. A Darkest Hour is a surprise to me, though, and The Post as well. I think those two you can remove. Dunkirk, even, I can make a case you can remove those. But I love that Get Out is nominated, Lady Bird nominated. Phantom Thread is shockingly nominated to me because it wasn't garnering a lot of nominations across the board in these other places. Call Me by Your Name is nice. There's a lot of independent features nominated here, which we see now more and more in the Oscars. Shape of Water is great as well. Absolutely love it. Fantastic. That's probably odds-on favorite to win. But for me, the snubs, I, Tonya not being nominated. All the Money in the World not being nominated. A lot of people really love that film from Ridley Scott.
Did they?
Logan, for me, Molly's Game as well, The Big Sick, and of course Blade Runner 2049. So I was hyped, I was happy, and then I was super pissed because there are 2 or 3 that are just in this thing just to be in this category that I think some better films should have been in this category, and you can take out at least 3 of these.
What do you have against World War II? Why do you hate Darkest Hour and Dunkirk? Those go hand in hand. I think they're both great, terrific pieces of filmmaking on their own. So what are the movies that you think were just in there to be in there?
I think definitely The Post is in there just to be in there because of Steven Spielberg, and it's ironic because when Steven first started, it was tough for him to get nominated because he was the young buck coming up, and gave him a lot of crap for the Academy, and then now he's one of these veterans that constantly gets nominated, like Meryl Streep, which we'll talk about later, one of these stalwarts. And the thing is, The Post was a good film. It's good, but to me, if you want to start validating technical achievement or achievement in film, I think I, Tonya is an incredibly different kind of film that breaks the fourth wall. We haven't seen this kind of biopic, for lack of a better term, in this. All the Money in the World, when Ridley Scott really nails it, he nails it. I thought this film was pretty incredible and extensive. Or you could even go Blade Runner 2049, which would have been an incredible challenge and a nice statement by the Academy to respect both the visual and technical achievement of that film, also the story of that film and the scope of that film. So there's a lot. And Molly's Game, I think, is just as good as any independent feature that has been nominated.
See, look, as a blockbuster fan, I woke up this morning hoping that I might see something like a Logan or Wonder Woman or Apes or something like that sneak into the top 10. What I was happy about was Get Out. That one surprised me a little bit, and I'm thrilled to see that movie in there, so I think it deserves it. The other one that did surprise me just a little bit was Phantom Thread. I didn't know if it would get in there. I knew Daniel Day-Lewis had a great shot, the directing one that we'll get to a little bit later, but Phantom Thread and Get Out were the 2 on the fringe to me. Happy about one of them. I need to see the other movie, but I'm not going to be excited about it. And Perri, as I complain about every year, if you have 10 slots, why can't we have 10 movies in there? Why can't Coco be in there? Because it's more than just the best animated movie of the year. It's one of the best movies of the year.
Do you know what video would explain that process quite well to show why all 10 slots aren't necessarily filled just because they're there is the explainer video that we posted last year. That is a brilliant video that Adam Chitwood helped me and the team here make, and I'm so freaking proud of that video because it really does lay it all out there. But
Cody, put that video on my watch list, please.
Please do, everyone do. But looking at this list, yeah, there are films that I liked a little more than these that I would have liked to have seen get the nominations, but really, I think this is largely the list many have predicted, and I also don't think any of these movies are not deserving of this honor. I would definitely have The Post in there, and one of the biggest surprises with Oscar nominees overall today is how many Phantom Thread scored. Clearly, that movie made a huge impression on the Academy. I knew it was going to get costume and that kind of thing, but really, I think that's probably the biggest surprise in the Best Picture category, and really, the more I think about it, the more I understand why it's there. I mean, Rocha, we've talked about it a lot. When the credits started to roll on that movie during our screening, I'm like, I don't know about that. And then as soon as we started to talk about it, I couldn't stop talking about it. And then days and weeks later, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So really, the more I do think about it, and I can't wait to see it again now, the happier I am that it is being recognized. Because also, when you look at this list here, everything does feel like so incredibly different when you look at what a movie like The Post is trying to achieve, what kind of movie The Shape of Water is, Call Me By Your Name, Get Out, Lady Bird. These are all drastically different types of films covering different stories and different types of characters. And I think that's one of the most special things about this group. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen I, Tonya get in there. And I think that's probably the closest thing we have to a snub in this category. And, you know, The Big Sick, I thought it did have a chance. And one of the biggest bummers to me is how little The Florida Project is being recognized right now. Yeah, I knew Willem Dafoe was going to get that nomination, but I really did think when I first saw that movie that it was going to go on to get more Oscar nominations, and the only thing that tipped me off that it might not is how little it picked up with all the guilds and all the critics organizations leading up to this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed The Big Sick, and I thought that definitely was worthy of being in here as well. But Schnepp, you see these 9 movies that were nominated for Best Picture. What stands out to you?
Perri just said it, The Florida Project, to me, that should have been the 10th nomination. I think it should have replaced either The Post. There's a bunch of them, to me, it could have replaced. I think The Florida Project is one of the best pictures of the year. And that it's not even represented here, and they had an empty slot. It's kind of ridiculous. If you want to talk about pushing boundaries and going to the next level and trying different things, doing different, newer things, I mean, you know, I personally feel like all the money in the world is kind of an inert film to me, just like The Post. It's just kind of here's a bunch of scenes. Here's some people pretend acting. I wasn't blown away by anything. It was like none of them are. Neither are horrible films. They're there. You know what I'm saying? It's after each of the films, I was like, okay. I didn't feel like emotionally moved at all. I didn't feel any of the emotional connections with any of the characters for either of those two films. So if in my mind, The Florida Project should replace The Post. I look at all of them, and you're right. I mean, it is a mixed bag. Every single film is different. Even Darkest Hour to Dunkirk are different World War II films. So look, it is a good representation of what came out this year, but in the same sense, it's not.
See, I mean, like last year, what's interesting is that Moonlight made such a late charge and overtook La La Land right at the wire, as it turned out, to win the Best Picture at the Oscars. Which way do you see it going this year, Schnepp? What's our front runner? Is it Shape of Water?
It's 3 Billboards, Shape of Water, and Lady Bird.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Call Me By Your Name, Get Out, The Post, those are not going to win at all, really. It's my guess. But, you know, the weird thing about the Academy is the age difference. I mean, it is really like 67 is the voting, the largest voting nominee. So all the people who got those screeners of Phantom Thread watched that. And the Florida Project, like, I don't know what this is. It's about Florida? You know, throw it out. Crack it in half. I don't have time to watch it. Guarantee you nobody watched Florida Project, because if they did, it would have been nominated. That's the kind of when I see this kind of oversight, just like The Big Sick. I don't think they watched The Big Sick. I don't think they watched The Florida Project. I think they were like, oh, The Phantom, oh, The Post. They watched those screeners. What am I gonna have for dinner? And watch the Post, and that's why they. Honestly, that's my feeling about it, because it didn't get that, like, I see your face, Perry, but I'm sorry, that's how I feel. I like the Willem Dafoe
did get nominated.
I know.
For Best Supporting
It's like
Actor,
a gimme in a certain sense, just like The Big Sick. Here's a gimme for the screenplay because enough people, they heard enough about it.
That's fair. Look, I'd like to see The Big Sick nominated too, but I think The Post was a great movie. I think The Post is definitely worthy of being one of the 9 nominations for Best Picture. Perry, which one is taking the trophy?
I think it's down to 2 obvious choices right now, and it's 3 Billboards and Shape of Water. If I had my pick between the 2, I would give it to Shape of Water, but 3 Billboards is one heck of a contender right now, and early on in award season, I didn't predict it to be here. I thought it was going to get nominations. It's sweeping a lot of stuff. And with how well it did at the SAG Awards, that is no doubt a sign of how it could perform here.
Yeah, I wonder if it's an indicator at all as the way the Academy might sway Rocha, because Martin McDonagh was not nominated for Best Director for an Oscar, but Guillermo del Toro was.
Yeah.
Does that mean Shape of Water is going to run with it, or do we have an upset?
No, I think Shape of Water is absolutely going to win. I think if they had nominated Martin McDonagh as director and the Best Picture, then they would have split the difference. But I think not nominating McDonagh, they just wanted to give some love to 3 Billboards. I don't think there's any way Shape of Water doesn't win this thing. 13 nominations. That's only one behind the record of 14, which is La La Land, Titanic, and I think All About Eve. That says something about the Academy's overall love for Shape of Water. And I think when you see this kind of impetus, it's really rare when that film doesn't win Best Picture. So I think it's absolutely going to win Best Picture.
Another movie, I'm not sure if anybody actually mentioned this in the snub category that you could consider a snub, would be The Disaster Artist, not nominated. It was at the top of a lot of people's Best Movie of the Year list, and that might have had more political implications than the actual quality of the film. As we move on to Best Actor, your Best Lead Actor, the top 5 are Timothée Chalamet for Call Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis for the Close movie, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington for Roman J. Israel Esquire. Perry, you see this list. Is it more about who we see, like Daniel Kaluuya's, or is it more about who we don't see, like the James Francos?
I'm definitely thinking a lot about who we don't see, and I think I am a little bit surprised about that. Obviously, given recent news that did suggest that we might not see him get nominated and win certain awards, but the voting process for nominations for the Oscars closed the day after that report was released. So I do wonder how many people placed their votes before that story even broke.
I wonder how many people in Hollywood circles were aware that there might be a report dropping too.
A total possibility as well.
Is it even fair that is a consideration, though? I mean, that's the big question here, is that are you really rewarding somebody for the best performance of the year, or are you allowing your political beliefs or your social conscience to factor in? Is it fair that happens?
It's a good question, because I think it's well worth discussing. On the one hand, you can say we are assessing their performance in a movie and that's it. But you said it earlier during our meeting. These are awards that make a strong statement, and they represent our industry. And if you're honoring folks that are accused, not necessarily proven even, but just accused of this kind of behavior, that's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, the point I made in the pre-production meeting, Schnepp, is that we're giving out awards for people who played pretend. You know, I mean, it's like, hey, I showed up on set, I faked something, and now I get an award for it. So is it really the fact that you were the best at what you did? Is it really that you won the championship? Or is it that you did something special this year, and we're going to reward you for that? And that if there is a cloud hanging over somebody, fair or not fair, the Academy tends to go away from that cloud.
Probably the cloud metaphor is what I'm going to go with, because look, I mean, you know, all the accusations and things that happened with Casey Affleck happened after the nominations were already in, and we're still kind of that cloud was floating over the Oscars when he won the Oscar. So, you know, and it's still not even a resolved issue, really. If you go into it, it's not resolved. But with James Franco, that kind of stuff started to really pop out a lot earlier, and we'd already heard a lot of like rumors and things like that. So I think it did affect the voting But in the same sense, every single person up there deserves to be nominated. So it's not like, just like I was saying, the Florida Project gets slighted. There's tons of different movies, all different subjectively opinions that things get slighted all the time. I might have edged out 2 movies that Perri wouldn't have edged out. So, or Rocha. So it's like, to me, it's not one thing or the other. He could have been number 6. We don't know how it all shook out. I think Oldman is going to grab it. I think that's like that performance is the one that's going to win.
Yeah, I think regardless of whether Franco had received a nomination or not, I don't think Tommy Wiseau was getting anywhere near that stage. I think that Gary Oldman is the odds-on favorite in what could be one of the bigger landslide voting in the respective categories. Is that how you feel, Rocha?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely Gary Oldman. I think there's no way it's not going to be Gary Oldman. And I'm of 2 minds of this Franco thing because I get why. Because the ballots, the accusations were made a day before the ballots were due.
They were made public
a day before that. I can't imagine that would have affected the vote. So I think that we have to maybe take a look at this with are the Oscars. Does the Academy go in and fix the situation? Like, do they do that? And if they do that, then you're not actually honoring the votes of the Academy.
I don't think
of
that's-
the voters.
That's not
I don't
in the
know
realm
about
of
us, sir.
possibility
Yeah.
at all.
That's a weird- that's like- I don't know where
saying
you even
last
come
year
off
that
getting
the Moonlight La
that's a
La
weird
Land thing
accusation.
What do you
was
mean?
staged. Remember
Wait,
that
I'm confused.
argument?
What
I
Are you
do
saying
think
that the Academy fixes votes after they came in?
Yes.
That's a weird accusation.
I'm saying that that's a possibility in this situation because if these accusations weren't made public and he had been nominated all across the board, and then all of a sudden
they would not do that
just
because
before the
number
Oscars
one,
come out.
there's not enough people, there's not enough voters, and there's like.
So
if
you're
you,
saying-
if you think about it, it's like 6,600 voters. There's no
Yeah.
way they would put in a fix like that.
No, if it comes out Franco, maybe they take out his name and then move the next person.
I can't
That's certainly
imagine that
possible.
is a scenario, although I am the same guy that still believes that they did fix it last year when they wanted to announce both La La
Which
Land
is
and Moonlight.
absolutely
But that wasn't
ridiculous.
changing a vote. That wasn't changing a vote. That was a publicity stunt. That's very different
No.
than literally taking somebody who deserved the nomination and taking their name
Wait,
off because
You
they had
do
a story come out
publicity
about them.
stunts at shows like
Yeah.
the Golden Globes.
That was
You
an
don't
honest
do
mistake.
That at the Academy
Mistakes really
Awards.
happen. Everything's not a conspiracy,
No,
guys.
but I'm not saying it's a conspiracy.
I don't know what's going on
I
here.
don't think this. No, you have to hear me out on this. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's a matter of this is an academy that honored the guy who had the 13 years old, Roman Polanski, gave him an Oscar even after all that for The Pianist. So this is an academy that at times has had egg on its face. I think with the turn that's happening in the public, they did not want to make their show a spectacle. They didn't want to make their show some kind of thing that could be like, from what I heard at the SAG Awards, I worked the SAG Awards, there were rumors that if Franco had won, the audience, the majority of the female audience was going to turn their back on the stage to log their protest.
But
that was
I could
funny.
make the
So
point the
I
other
think
way
they
though.
don't
Is that
want
I think
to have their
I think
thing
that
be-
you would have. I think a lot of people would want to tune in if Franco was nominated.
Well, that's-
just
ratings
to see
are different than
what
prestige.
it would look like at the award, because if he did get announced, are people going to boo? Are people going to cheer?
Right.
What's that going to be like? So I think that would get just as many eyeballs on your ceremony as it would.
There is no way they would run the risk of that getting public and completely
Agreed.
toppling the integrity of that organization and
Right.
what these awards mean. People in that organization, they pay dues, they do their due diligence, and they're part of that
I
academy.
am in that
for-
organization. I pay my
They're
dues.
a part
Yep.
of the. I'm not talking about SAG. I'm talking about the voting members of the academy.
I know, but we're chosen to-
They have the right to vote, and they have the right to vote the way that they choose,
Mm-hmm.
and no member can go in behind anybody's back and just pluck someone out because of, I'm not defending James Franco, but they're accusations that he is saying are not true. I'm not saying whether or not I believe that to be the case, but it is not right for them to be the judge of whether or not he should be taken out for that reason.
Well, that's fair.
That's
And
not their
Can I
place.
throw in one thing about this category, though? Moving from James Franco,
Yeah.
I love
Who
the
you
fact
got?
that the hashtag Oscars so white will not apply this year. I love that we have Daniel Kaluuya in this. As much as I love Denzel Washington, I like that he's nominated, but I would also like to move him out and put Hugh Jackman in for Logan, or Christian Bale for Hostiles, which is another film that a lot of, like Florida Project,
right.
a lot of people did not see, and Christian Bale is incredible in this movie. I think more so than anything Denzel did in Roman J. Israel. He was great in it, but it's what you see Denzel do. And so I think what Christian Bale did is something you haven't seen in a while, and I really would have loved to have seen Hugh Jackman out of left field nominated nominated for Logan. But that being said, I think it's a great category and I love that 2 black actors are nominated in this category.
Yeah, look, the nomination is always an honor for anybody who gets it, but I think that in this particular category, that Gary Oldman is going to show up, and he could probably show up late. You know, he could show up whenever they say we're going to announce Best Actor. He could just be like, okay, thanks, and he could go home.
He should have his Golden Globe. And can I trade this in now? That's why I was just kidding about Golden Globes and throws it away.
Don't make Gary Oldman wait for an Oscar.
Yeah. Gary Oldman, let us be the first to say congratulations. And congrats to all the nominees in the Best Actor category. We move on to Best Actress, which hopefully is a little less controversial. You're going to see some familiar names in there, though. Sally Hawkins for Shape of Water. Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Margot Robbie for I, Tonya. Charisse Ronan.
Oh, no.
What'd I do?
Saoirse
Ronan.
Saoirse, yeah, sorry. You see the name and you know.
Saoirse.
For Lady
Come on,
Bird.
Haddish.
And Meryl Streep for The Post. John Rocha.
Yes.
I'm going back to you.
All right.
I want to get yours out of the way.
Listen, I think this is kind of on the other side here of because these are all white actresses. So this says
time's up, Rocha. You've had enough time.
No,
All right,
this just says something that we
kidding.
need to do a little more work on the other side for people of color here. But this is a great. These are great list of nominees. Sally Hawkins, fantastic. Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie, Saoirse Ronan, Meryl Streep. Now Meryl Streep in The Post, liked her, thought she did good work. But I didn't think it was that kind of like nominate this character type of performance. I would have loved to see Michelle Williams, I know, against Jon Schnepp's better judgment for All the Money in the World. I think Jessica Chastain was absolutely phenomenal in Molly's Game and should have been nominated. And as an outside thing, maybe Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman. I think that would have been an incredible statement by the Academy to do something like that. But that being said, this is a great category full of fantastic actresses. And I love that Margot Robbie was nominated for I, Tonya. Margot Robbie, go back and do the research about this film. She pushed for this film. She fought for this film. She wanted it to be distributed in a way that it could be considered for Academy consideration, and she got what she wanted. And I got to respect that 100% because she believed in the project and believed what she brought to it. And so I'm very, very happy that she's nominated. That being said, everybody knows Frances is going to win this thing, but I just love the fact that we've got a good collection of phenomenal actresses with incredibly different parts in this category.
Yeah, I'd be pulling for Sally Hawkins or Frances McDormand. I don't see a whole lot of snubs in this category, and that includes, I think Meryl Streep deserved her nomination in The Post. Now, look, in recent years, if she got nominated for the Into the Woods, and I was like, well, that's just because it's Meryl Streep, or really Frances or the Florence Foster Jenkins. Okay, she was great in The Post, man. I thought it was an ensemble picture, and if there's one person that carried it the most, it wasn't Tom Hanks, it was Meryl Streep, and I thought she was great in that, deserved the nomination. So I'm pretty happy with this lead actress list. I don't see a whole lot of snubs here, Perri.
There are pretty much no snubs here. This might be the least surprising category that was announced. I mean, I really like Meryl Streep in The Post, and I think she deserves this honor for that performance. But when I'm ranking my personal preferences, I have to agree with Rocha. Jessica Chastain is incredible in Molly's Game. There are a number of excellent elements of that film, but that movie would not have been as good as it was had it not been for her freaking powerhouse performance. She is so good in that. I would not have minded to see her get the nomination
Who would you take
over
out?
Meryl
Yeah.
Streep.
Okay.
If I had to take one person out, it would be Meryl Streep, but it's not that I don't think Meryl Streep was great in The Post.
Perri, don't you think it's interesting, real quick? Don't you think it's interesting? Because Molly's Game, Jessica carries that. Just like Oldman carries Darkest Hour.
Yes.
So in my opinion, why wasn't she nominated? Don't you think? Like, I feel like she should have been nominated if he was nominated. Because she carries that film.
It's a very fair point to make, and I think when I'm trying to predict, and why that doesn't really surprise me, is that I kind of ride the wave of award season, and this comes on the heels of a bunch of other nominations and a bunch of other wins. So I've already been pointed in specific directions that when I was coming up with my predictions for this list, I knew that Jessica Chastain was going to have a much harder time getting that nomination versus Meryl Streep. So looking at this, I'm not surprised, but I think it's a very valid point you bring up. And if I could pick my win, I have a feeling Frances McDormand is going to get it. I want Sally Hawkins to walk away with it.
Yeah, me too. I will point out, though, that we are going to do like a scoreboard for your Oscar wins, and everybody's going to predict those. Do not hold anybody's feet to the fire for what they say on this show. It's very early in the morning. We just saw the nominations. I give them the right to change if they want to massage their picks for scoreboard. Jon Schnepp, which way are you rubbing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm rubbing towards Francis, but yeah, I would like Sally to achieve the full rub, if you know what I'm saying. Meryl Streep.
She gave that fish creature the full rub.
I know. She did.
What is going on? No.
Anybody?
A lot of.
I'll see myself out.
I'm gonna have to rub myself out here.
Yeah.
Meryl
alert.
Streep is I feel like I'm just chiming in now because I was gonna say the same thing about Jessica Chastain. She is in the same category as Gary Oldman. That's her film. It's a standout film. Molly's Game really didn't get a lot of love. I think the script is better than The Post. If you ask me, the script is better written. So Jessica Chastain just put in she's not a supporting actress in my eyes. She's the lead actress in Molly's Game, and she didn't get the love that she should have gotten. I think I would have taken out Meryl Streep, but otherwise, everybody there works. I mean, I don't think I, Tonya is a Best Picture film, so I agree. That's why I wasn't angry that it wasn't in there. But Margot Robbie's performance was the standout thing. Her performance and Allison Janney. So. Yeah.
We move on to supporting actor, and this is the category where somebody did watch The Florida Project. Willem Dafoe nominated for that movie. Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water. Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World. And Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Is part of the reason why Christopher Plummer got nominated, Schnepp, because he showed up and basically did a weekend and was in an entire movie?
Yes. Unfortunately, I think so. I mean, he was good in it. I just look, All the Money in the World is just, to me, is just like a joke. I don't understand how everybody was like, I don't understand how it got any nominations for the Globe when it was like literally, I know they rushed it and they like quickly showed 66 people the film before they voted the next night. It's just not that good of a film.
Do you think that's the most political statement of the Oscars? And what I mean by that is
yes,
this, because we made such an effort to take out Kevin Spacey and put in somebody else, and we still got it on our release date that movie's being honored for that reason.
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. The only reason I could even see that Christopher Plummer being in the best supporting role is to be like, that's right, we're going to erase Kevin Spacey. It's like, it is like some kind of a statement.
Is that statement, to me, that statement is not worth making in costing Patrick Stewart a nomination in Logan.
Look at it this way. It's like, I don't like Rocha was suggesting there was some kind of fix happening after the Franco thing.
Oh, yeah, Rocha did mention something like that.
I don't think that happened with this either, but I just think that because of all this kind of hubbub about Kevin Spacey, that was in people's minds, and when they had the screener, they're like, Christopher Plummer did do a good job. I'm going to put him. I just feel like it just feels like he kind of snuck in there. Everyone else deserves the supporting role. I'd love to see Willem Dafoe pick it up because he deserves it.
And it does look very competitive. I mean, Willem Dafoe has had such an incredible career, and I believe this would be his first Oscar win. Is that right? If he wins his first Oscar, I think, Perri, he might be the slight favorite over Rockwell. But I really would have liked to have seen what Patrick Stewart could have done in this category.
I don't know. Ever since things have been tipping in 3 Billboards direction across the board, and also Rockwell won the SAG award, even though I thought Dafoe was the front runner and he's the one who I want to win, I'm starting to lean towards picking Sam Rockwell. But back to the Christopher Plummer thing, I think Christopher Plummer is excellent in that movie. I don't think that's an Academy Award worthy movie either. I think it happened because, as I've said time and time again, because it is the truth, even though the Academy is filled with people who should just strictly be voting for the best work in whatever category, they're human beings, and the level of exposure to certain movies can vary. They get a bunch of screeners like we do, and sometimes you prioritize what you watch over the other. All the Money in the World made headlines in December. People sought it out to see what happened. So I think that was just so much in the spotlight when you talk about something like the Golden Globes and him getting recognized there. Spectacle comes into play there.
Right.
Here, I'm a little surprised that he wound up getting the nomination, especially over people like, let's say, Armie Hammer. The fact that Armie Hammer is not nominated in this category is crazy to me. And Michael Stuhlbarg, I don't care what you pick for his nomination. That guy deserves to be recognized this year. The role in The Post is minimal. He is so, so good in Call Me By Your Name. As I've said, his scene is one of my favorite scenes of the entire year, and he's really good in Shape of Water, too. The fact that he's not nominated, I think, makes me more upset than anything.
Odenkirk should have got a nomination for The Post
Oh, he's great in
instead
The
of
Post.
instead of Christopher Plummer. He was even in it
also
more.
good.
He's in it more than Christopher Plummer.
Odenkirk
Maybe
is
he's
really
not,
good in The
but-
Post, and Perry's right. Michael Stuhlbarg, they can't do the Lifetime Achievement Award. Can you do the 2017 Achievement Award just for him being so good in so many different things? Rocha,
Yeah.
I mean, look, you see human error, and these are voted on by humans. So you see that in sports when people try to make a statement about who they vote into the Hall of Fame or not. If somebody is rumored to be using steroids, we're not going to vote that person in. Do you think that the spectacle aspect and all of the press that All the Money in the World got is the reason why Christopher Plummer gets in over somebody like a Michael Stuhlbarg or a Patrick Stewart?
No, I think a lot of people will come out of that movie thinking he did a really great job considering the situation, and he was really effective and very moving. And people forget Christopher Plummer has been doing this for decades. He is a fantastic actor, and I thought he did something different with this role that we haven't seen, as opposed to Alan Arkin winning for Little Miss Sunshine. He was basically being Alan Arkin again. It was not interesting. Eddie Murphy should have won that Oscar.
Why you got to be hating on Alan Arkin?
Because
Yeah.
just that performance now.
Okay, well, we have Alan Arkin in studio, but I guess he just left.
I'm coming over. No, but these are these things that I think, in my opinion, I mean, I think Eddie should
You
have won
sounded
that
like
year.
Winnie the Pooh. Are you trying to do Alan Arkin?
Have you seen Gross Point Blank? That's what it
my
is.
God.
Please, I can't help you anymore. Listen, that's the whole thing. What I like. Plummer is great. Plummer's totally gonna be in contention, I think, at the end. But what's interesting is they might split the vote with Rockwell and Woody being nominated here for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing. So it may affect Sam in the long run. And Perry, Willem Dafoe may slide in there and win as a surprise. We've seen surprises in Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories before in the Oscar. I wouldn't be surprised. I echo what everyone else has said. Patrick Stewart was fantastic in Logan. Should have been nominated. Armie Hammer, Michael Stuhlbarg. I think if Stuhlbarg had an issue with his son being homosexual and that had been a journey for his character, I think maybe that would have put it over the edge. But he seemed to have been a bit more accepting in the film than maybe you would have liked to. So that's my only
Spoiler for anybody.
Oh, spoiler
Yeah.
alert! Spoiler alert!
I was
Okay.
gonna say I would question them not putting in Henry Cavill's mustache. Lipgate is what I would have nominated. Like the 5th one, I would have taken out Plummer, just put in a close up of the lip.
Mustache really got the shaft in the
Yeah,
final
it
cut of
really
that
did.
movie.
Don't
It's
be
really a
surprised
shame.
if Jenkins slides in. Don't be surprised.
I wouldn't be.
He's
Richard
I'd like
Jenkins
to see
is
it.
great in that
In shape
movie.
of
Like,
Yeah.
this is a tough one to
Endearing.
call, and I agree with Perry that Sam Rockwell's been crushing it. He won the SAG award, but I just do wonder if the 3 Billboards of the lack of Best Director nomination for that movie might say that, hey, the Academy feels a little differently about this movie than the SAG awards did. We're going to move on to Best Supporting Actress, and those nominees are Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. Very happy to see Mary J. Blige get the nomination for Mudbound. I think that Allison Janney is just so knocked down, drag out, haunting in I, Tonya. She's got to be considered the front runner, but as a huge Roseanne fan, I'm rooting for Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird, who I think deserved the nomination as well. Rocha, how do you see this one shaping up?
The world is now going to be separated into 2 categories. There are people who believe that Allison Janney deserves it, and the people who believe Laurie Metcalf deserves it. And I don't know if we're going to survive, if the world is going to implode within itself and destroy us. And so there's such a very strong social media battle going on between these two. There's like camps. It's like Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie. Are you team Angelina? Are you team Jen? It's what it feels like. It's being split up. Are you team Laurie Metcalf or team Allison Janney? I personally am team Allison Janney. I think Laurie Metcalf is fantastic in Lady Bird. Deserves all the love and accolades she get. But Allison Janney delivers a performance for the ages. The bird, everything, what she does, the hard Scrabble depiction of this person. Yet she's strangely charming and magnetic and interesting, even though she's one of the worst human beings on the planet. Spoiler alert, when she throws the knife at a certain somebody and it hits, you're just like, oh my God, and yet you can't take your eyes off her as a character. So she's incredible in the movie. But I will say, Leslie Manville being nominated for The Phantom Thread is fantastic, and I'm very happy about this. And once again, here's an Oscar so white pushback. Mary J. Blige and Octavia Spencer nominated 2 black actresses for this role. Octavia Spencer, like Michael Stuhlbarg, whenever you cast her in a movie, you are getting 100% of a good actress doing great work. from stupid comedies to fantastically well done Oscar-nominated films. Octavia always brings it. So much love to her being nominated for this again.
You know, you just don't get to hear the word hard scrabble used that often. And I'm glad we got
You
to do
took
it
the
this
words
morning.
right out of my mouth. So the only man to ever use the word hard scrabble in a sentence is John Rocha. I used it in a comic book. I was like, what? I was like, he actually said it.
He was describing Allison Janney and I, Tanya. Do you
Hard
think that she
scrabble
is going to
life.
be the front runner? Or it's going to be another
Look,
hard scrabble
I don't know
night for Janney.
who circles Rocha runs in with this, like, I'm on Team Janney. I was like, what world are you living in, dude? I don't see the camp Metcalf somewhere. I want both of them to win. I think they're both great. I'd be happy with either one. I think they're both really great. All the other actresses are great too. Who do I feel deserves it? I feel Janney deserves it a little bit more than Metcalf. I love both performances. I love Lady Bird. I think it's one of the best films of the year. I'd be happy to see that win, but I think Shape of Water is going to edge it out. But Metcalf did a fantastic job. I just think like Metcalf was much more emotional, and you connect more with her, and you disconnect more with Janney for the same exact reason as what an evil, vile portrayal of that mother she portrayed. You're like, wow. So, I mean, she should win just for that iceberg. You know?
Perry, see somebody else being able to sneak into this category and take the trophy, or you think it's one of these two?
I think
they're fighting a
it's-
war.
Yeah. In Rocha's made-up social media war that I didn't realize was happening,
I will tweet
I
you
guess
guys.
I'm on Team Allison Janney. It is kind of interesting that the two front runners of this category both play moms that are so incredibly different.
Right.
And I give a lot of credit to Allison Janney for what she does with that character. I'm not going to spoil what happens towards the end of the movie, but there is one scene in particular that had me so conflicted, even though I knew what she was capable of.
Right.
And just the fact that she was able to jerk me around in that moment, that was the scene where I'm like, you got this. You deserve this. I want you to win it. So I'm looking out for her to take the win. The one that had me surprised was obviously Phantom Thread, but Leslie Manville, when that was announced, I think that was the only audible reaction I had the entire time where I'm like, oh my God, this happened. I'm so happy for her because she is so good in that movie, and really the definition of what a really strong supporting character is, just with how she isn't on screen the entire time, but her presence in that house is always felt. And you could see how she's steering the plot to some degree, but she is so good, and I'm happy to see her in there. Holly Hunter, though, not getting the nomination. I'm a little sad, but if anybody got it over her, I'm happy to see it's Leslie Manville. But, you know, The Big Sick didn't get as many nominations as
Right.
some might have
Yeah.
thought. So it is a little bit of a bummer that that's how it happens.
Did The Big Sick, in your opinion, just not have the Oscar push? Did it not have as good of a campaign as it could have had? Or do you think that it had the campaign, they put money behind it, they had as many billboards as anybody else, and it just simply didn't cut the mustard with this voting body?
I think the fact that we see Phantom Thread popping up in so many different categories is just a sign that the voting members really dug it, because I know that The Big Sick has been shoved in my face constantly since award season kicked off. So from my perspective, it seems that they have all had an equally strong promotional push behind them. But I just think there was something about Phantom Thread that really captured the attention of them all.
Thread, you know, again, I haven't seen the movie. I guarantee it's not the yuck fest that The Big Sick is, because The Big Sick does have a lot of comedic moments in it, although it's also very dramatic, and I wonder if that does play into the voting, and that's what I'll mention into supporting actress with snubs, too. Tiffany Haddish, it would have been a long shot, and I think it would have been really cool to see her get nominated because she was so funny. It was the funniest performance of the year, and it doesn't get recognized. And I know it was a long shot. I woke up this morning thinking there were two movies I was really excited to check out. I was hoping Get Out got nominated for Best Picture, and I was hoping to see Tiffany Haddish get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Didn't happen. I think that regardless of her getting nominated or not, it's between Laurie Metcalf and Allison Janney. She's just so haunting as it reminded me of Naomi Harris's performance in Moonlight last year. Just truly a very scary image of what a mother figure and how influential that can be on somebody's youth.
Let me add, I think one of the reasons Holly Hunter didn't get nominated is because The Big Sick came out so early.
Yeah,
didn't-
that's fair.
It came out. I mean,
Get Out came out in February.
I know, but I think The Big Sick kind of came and went, and then it came back, but it came back too late. It's like, I think when they started really pushing it for awards, people were like, oh yeah, that movie was really good too. And I think all these other films had already taken the spotlight.
I think you make a great point, John. If there had been a stronger push marketing-wise by the studio to make Big Sick a bigger deal, she might have been more considered for nominations. And Holly Hunter has a good relationship with the Academy. So.
And she was fantastic in The Big Sick.
Yes, she was.
Well, we're going to do the big 6 categories as we refer to them here, just for ease, not because any Academy Award is more important than the other one. But we're also going to take some time at the end of the show to highlight some individual categories we all want to talk about. So far, out of the big 6, we have not seen the name Geostorm. Will that change with Best Director? Here we go. Roll it. We have Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Jordan Peele for Get Out, and Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread. Rocha, why is your closed movie boy going to win?
Guillermo del Toro is going to win. There's no doubt about it. Va a ganar todos los Oscars. Va a ganar Best Picture, va a ganar Best Director. Absolutely. And I'm so happy that he is nominated. And this is a fantastic film. And finally, like Guillermo's been, like he said at the Golden Globes, I've been doing this for 25 years. It's nice to get a little consideration. That being said, this is an interesting. Greta Gerwig being nominated for Lady Bird. I know people are gonna go champion that. I know Jordan Peele being nominated for Get Out is great. Paul Thomas Anderson, great. Phantom Thread, I think Perri hit it. It's just been building and building, so people come on board. And Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk. Somebody's going to have to explain Dunkirk to me someday. I get it, I guess. I love Nolan as a director. Just something about that film bored me to tears, so I'm a little surprised he's in there. Martin McDonagh is the huge snub for this, considering what happened at the Golden Globes, considering what happened with his cast at the SAG Awards. It's really surprising. You can throw in Franco in this as well. He directed The Disaster Artist, so you can throw him in there. But to me, honestly, I know people are clamoring for Greta Gerwig. You love Lady Bird, Jon Schnepp. I think Patty Jenkins should have gotten this nomination over Greta Gerwig. This is a woman who like clawed her way back into this thing, took a film against all odds, was incredible with the film. And I would put to you that what she does technically and direction-wise in Wonder Woman is of a larger scope and more difficult task than what Greta Gerwig does in Lady Bird. And so, to me, I think she should have been nominated for this. That's your female nominee that should have been in there. Hell, pull out Nolan and put Patty Jenkins in there. You have 2 female nominees. I would have been great with that, honestly. So that's
just because you didn't understand Dunkirk doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to be there. I think
just because you didn't understand all the money in the world doesn't mean it doesn't deserve to be there.
You're right, but all the money in the world isn't there. Dunkirk is. So I'm sorry to trump you on that, but it's true.
Did you say Trump?
But look, I'll say this about Greta Gerwig and Jordan Peele. They're first-time directors.
Yeah.
They did a fantastic job. Both those films are incredible. I want Guillermo to win. He deserves it because I think it's the best picture of the year.
Absolutely.
Whether or not you didn't I love Dunkirk, and I was emotionally moved by it. It moved me more than Wonder Woman moved me, to be honest with you. I loved Wonder Woman. I think it's an incredible film. Does it deserve to be in the best picture or best director? Out of 10, yes. Out of 5, no, in my mind. So to me, look, I think Jordan and Greta deserve to have their names in this top 5 more so than Patty Jenkins, but just by a smidge. I think I would put in Mangold for Logan as well.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's a whole bunch of those kinds of films that are in my top 10. But out of that whole list, I mean, when I look at that list now, I'm like Guillermo. So
yeah, and it seems like this Best Director list edged more towards personal storytelling than it did a wider scope. I mean, you look at something like Get Out, which Jordan Peele wrote as well, so that's something that was very personal to him. Same could be said for Lady Bird with Greta Gerwig. I do think that Guillermo del Toro is the odds-on favorite. I think he should win for Shape of Water. I think the Christopher Nolan Dunkirk nomination is well earned, Perri. I think that was an incredible singular piece of filmmaking, and I am excited to see what happens in this category at the Oscars. Are you seeing The Shape of Water taking the win as well?
Absolutely. I think this is Guillermo's award to lose right now, and more so than any category, I think I have my fingers crossed for him here. He really deserves it, and really seeing all of his speeches at every other award ceremony is only fueling my passion for him and his career and the success of this movie and this award season. So I am really hoping he takes this. But I love this list. I love the fact that Nolan got his first directing nomination for Dunkirk, because I think Dunkirk is an exceptional movie. I was also extremely moved. I think that the format of that movie is incredibly interesting, and it brings that story to life in a way that I didn't really expect, and how everything comes together, and just how exceptional each segment of it is too, and the way it's shot, the performances he brings out of his cast. I really do think he deserves that. Obviously, Jordan Peele, that just thrills me. All of Get Out's recognition today, it makes me so happy. And I think it's absolutely crazy to be like, oh, Greta Gerwig or Patty Jenkins, it had to be one or the other, or any minority director for that matter, where we had to just slip her in and take one of them out. But, I don't think Patty Jenkins should be in this top 5 either. Again, I like Wonder Woman, and I'm really happy for what it has accomplished this year, but we're talking about the Academy Awards, and I think there's certain problems in that movie that take it out of contention here. And Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm a little surprised just because I didn't expect Phantom Thread to get as much love as it's getting, but now that I see that it is, when his name was announced, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it.
Because the name that everybody's talking about that is not in this category, it's not Steven Spielberg, and it is Martin McDonagh because he's won. So you've been nominated and won so many awards coming up to this point. Is that maybe the biggest snub of the Oscars to you guys?
Of the Oscars?
No. Florida Project, Sean Baker should be in this list. That's my personal pick.
Okay.
I think he did an incredible job directing that film. It's a standout movie for multiple reasons. Not only is it a moving, emotional film, but it's really well directed. It's an incredibly original way of putting together a movie. I implore everyone to go see that film. Look for it if you haven't seen it, because it's a great film, and that deserves to be in here.
I think you're right. In my opinion, I think it is the snub. Either that or Jessica Chastain is the snub of the Oscars. I think Martin McDonagh, because of winning at Golden Globes, because of the cast winning at the SAG Awards, because of all the love that it's been getting, I think absolutely. And there's nothing he does in that film that Greta Gerwig or Jordan Peele didn't do in their smaller independent films. It's the technical achievement all across the board for those 3 films are comparative. So to me, or I don't know the word. Is it comparative? I don't know. What
Hard scrabble.
It's 8 in the morning. So to me, they compare favorably all 3. So you could argue that he should have been in there as well.
I think you could argue for him also. To say he's the biggest snub, I feel like that's a more recent thing.
Right.
Just because 3 Billboards has been in my face with every award ceremony and it keeps winning, I started to think that he was more likely, but I've been thinking that Holly Hunter was the more likely guaranteed nomination for a longer period of time. So I almost look at that as being the more surprising snub. But then again, McDonagh had the DGA nomination, so.
Yeah, and for everybody who is a big fan of The Big Sick, then I will mention that it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Emily and Camille were nominated for that. Jordan Peele also nominated in that category. I did want to give everybody a shot to highlight a lesser talked about category in their own personal list. Jon Schnepp, you want to start this with Best Visual Effects. And the Best Visual Effects nominees are Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Star Wars The Last Jedi, War for the Planet of the Apes, and Kong Skull Island. Do you like these 5 nominees as the best 5 visual effects performances of the year?
I think they're all great films as far as visual effects. I would like to see it, not just because I'm a Blade Runner fan, but I would like to see it go to Blade Runner, because I think that film seamlessly made me feel like I was in that world again. When you go and look at the original Blade Runner, that was an amazing feat to be done back then. And then to have this film kind of update that look, make it feel like it's even more real, like I really was in this horrible dystopian world. Look, I mean, Kong Skull Island was fantastic. I loved all the ape sequences. War for the Planet of the Apes, the double ape, movies here, they're both fantastic. I mean, the War for the Planet of the Apes, say what you will about the movie, but the effects are incredible. I mean, literally, like all those CG apes, you forget you're looking at something that's not real.
Yeah, Blade Runner also nominated for production design. I think Shape of Water might be the favorite just because Shape of Water is such a beloved movie right now, but don't count out Dunkirk in that either. Star Wars The Last Jedi, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I think War for the Planet of the Apes should take the best visual effects. They made a dude wearing ping pong balls into one of the most beloved primates of all time, and he's great in it. And it wasn't just him. They made a bunch of people into primates. It's not an easy thing to do when you watch the movie and I'm just shoving popcorn in my face like, these monkeys are talking. Like, it's so incredible to watch. That's why I would give it to War for the Planet of the Apes. We got to move on. Perri, your category that you want to highlight is
Cinematography. So I wouldn't say there's any surprises in this category. It is largely who I thought was going to get the awards, but the one that I want to highlight here is Rachel Morrison for Mudbound. One, because if you haven't seen that movie, that is a stunning film. It is beautifully shot. She deserves this honor, but she's also the first female director of photography to get this honor, and that's a really big deal. And even though I will be rooting for Shape of Water to win, because every single time I watch this movie, I want to freeze frame every step of the way, because that is stunning. She also does exceptional work, and it's important that she's being recognized here.
Absolutely. Roger Deakins also nominated for Blade Runner in that category. John Rocha.
Yes, sir.
One more controversial opinion before we get out of here. Let's talk about the best original score. Who do you like in this category?
Yeah, this is an incredible category. Hans Zimmer being his 11th nomination. Johnny Greenwood, who some people might not know, member of Radiohead. It's his first nomination. Alexander Desplat, 9th nomination. This is amazing. He only started scoring like 10, 12 years ago to have 9 of them already. John Williams, this is his 51st nomination. And Carter Burwell, his 2nd nomination. This is amazing. John Williams, 51 nominations. What are you going to do, old man? This is incredible. But he hasn't won since Schindler's List in 93. I think, in my opinion, Desplat is going to win this for The Shape of Water. A lot of people really love that score. And I think the film doesn't work, or isn't as beautiful, and for lack of a better term, isn't as lyrical as it is without his score. It is such a perfect accompaniment to the best film of the year, in my opinion, Shape of Water. So I think he's going to take it. But incredible nominees in this category. A lot of great music, and a lot of newcomers, and a lot of old-timers, and a mixture in between, which I think is great.
And wrapping things up, once again, one of the movies nominated for Best Animated Short, Dear Basketball. You guessed it. Kobe Bryant could be holding an Oscar when it's all said and done. By the way, you know who did the music for Dear Basketball?
Dear Basketball?
John Williams.
He did it. He did it at his show.
Wow.
Kobe Bryant was there, and he came out, and they did a whole thing together.
John Williams did the music.
Sorry,
for Dear
Coco's
Basketball.
taking that, son.
I would
Sorry.
love to see Remember Me when I haven't seen the 2 movies that I'm going to have to see are The Greatest Showman, because he won't shut up about it, and Phantom Thread, because nobody will shut up about it.
What are you
So-
calling it? The Clothes movie?
The
Is that what
Clothes
you-
movie. We're just going to show. Look, I'm just personal preference. I would rather watch Logan take a nap, or Wonder Woman sit in traffic, or Miguel eat a donut before I'd go see the Clothes movie. But I acknowledge this nomination. Paul Thomas Anderson, beloved director, Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the best ever. Suit up. So I will go see the movie, and I will give it an honest shot. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for tuning in on this bright and early Tuesday for our special Academy Award nominations announcement movie talk episode. I'm going to give everybody one last final salvo here. Jon Schnepp, let's start with you. Where can the kids find you, and your biggest overall sentiment about this nomination list?
Find me going back to sleep in about 30 minutes. I'm looking forward to seeing. I think overall a great amount of amazing films have been selected, and I think there aren't any stinkers in the bunch. I mean, sure, we're going to argue about certain things that we felt, certain films or actors or actresses that we felt should have been nominated. And that's how every single Oscar nomination season is, sometimes less so than more. And I feel like this year we had so many amazing, great films. So, that to me is good enough. So I'm really happy with all of the films, really rooting for Shape of Water, because I think it's a fantastic film.
Well, that was very nice and positive. Thank you very much. Perri Nemiroff, can you keep the rainbows coming?
Yeah, probably, considering this is one of my favorite times of year, and just seeing all these awards and all the speeches, and having attended the Critics' Choice Awards. I'm just so proud to be in this industry, and I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to celebrate all this incredible work. And I'm particularly excited this year that so many films that are being honored and represented in these nominations are about such different people, such different lifestyles, different beliefs. I think that's something really important that should be recognized, and I'm just thrilled. I'm so happy right now.
And you can find Perri Nemiroff at PNemi.
That is correct.
Is it really? Is it P Nemi?
No.
It's P number.
okay.
Yeah.
But I
Just
should
P.
I should
Nemiroff?
own that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get on
Just
that.
P Nemiroff.
I'd
You
get
can,
on that
you can
PNemi,
find
yeah.
me at hardscrabble.com, also at hardscrabble.org. Just check it out.
You could find Deputy Dewey at Dewey Cat as well.
There you
Oh,
go.
I love me some Dewey. John Rocha, where can
sir.
the kids find you, and your takeaway
You
from
can
the
find me
nominations?
picketing the Academy Awards for that James Franco stuff.
conspiracy!
Seeing if it's a conspiracy. No. You can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And I echo what Perri and John have already said. This is an incredible list of nominees. For all our issues about snubs or whatever, do not believe that I don't champion this list all across the board. An eclectic group, so many different variety of movies are highlighted here, and a diverse group of actors and nominees across the board. I love that. Female nominees, people of color. Like, this is a sea change. There's been push over the last couple of years with the Oscars So White hashtag. This is a sea change, and I couldn't be happier to be alive at this time. Been in love with the Oscars since I was a child. To see this change finally starting to happen. Hopefully this is a movement going forward that would be more open to more films coming from different people and walks of life. So this is a great year to be celebrating the Oscars.
Very well said. Well, now we're all happy again. My name is Mark Ellis. I'll be at the Ice House Comedy Club this weekend, Friday and Saturday. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. It's right here in Pasadena, California. And my big takeaway from the Oscars is that the host is Jimmy Kimmel, and I think he's going to have a few things to say about a great many topics, and it's one of the more anticipated monologues that I can think of in recent memory. So good luck to Mr. Kimmel. Good luck to all the nominees, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at our regularly scheduled time of 9 a.m. We'll be back. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.